with Wright Dalbo Insurance.
I'm Amy Lewis, mortgage loan originator.
And we are coming to you live from LEPD Fire Arm Range on Belleville Road, right here in Columbus, Ohio.
For those of you that don't know who we are a dedicated team of law enforcement families specializing in real estate, financial, lending, title, and insurance services, preferred about creating ongoing professional relationships and giving back to our first responder families.
We have to have your financial services in order to get a loan. So
Very true. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Anything exciting going on with you guys?
Well, let's ask. Can everybody hear us? Okay.
I know. I feel like I'm sorry that I
No, it's
am
okay because
messing
I
with
just
my
turned that
microphone.
on. So
Yeah, just go closer to your mouth.
can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jim, if you're listening.
Can you hear us?
Can
Okay.
you hear us?
Can you hear us now?
Um,
Did you guys have an exciting week? Or
Yesterday was a big day in our
Hey, Papa.
house.
Good morning.
Thank you,
did.
sir.
Thank
you.
you.
You did a great job, Papa. He's such a great man.
He is a great man.
Yesterday was a big day in our house.
Oh my gosh, yes.
16.
Your daughter.
16.
Yes.
Yes, I do not officially have a driver yet. She's not eligible to take her test until today, but she said, I bet I had 40 people ask me today when I was getting my license. Like, yeah, those people just want you to drive them.
Day one.
Yeah. So wait a minute, you're not taking her out of school to go take her test?
Nope. Nope.
I remember that though. I got let out of school.
Yeah, did your parents
you
come and
really?
get you?
I think I had one of my friends take the school day
Yeah.
off too, like the morning.
Just to go get your driver's license.
Yes.
How'd you do on your test the first time?
Flying colors.
Did you
Yeah,
really?
that's
That's
right.
awesome.
Yep.
How'd you do?
I did good. I mean, I don't remember. It's been so long ago, but
Yeah.
I passed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I passed, but I do remember taking off. I went around a turn and I had forgot to do the shuffle steer. And I remember I tried to correct and I went up over the curb and then I overcorrected and went into the other lane. And then I was like, "Er," and the guy was like, "What are you doing?"
So you didn't pass.
I did pass.
Barely. She only needed one more point, and then
Yeah.
she wouldn't have.
I know. I was like, sorry, can we start over? He's like, yeah, that was the only thing. But yeah, I did the maneuverability. I passed the written. I did everything awesome. And then I just was kind of I don't know. I guess I had to get my first couple minutes nerves out of the
Yeah.
way.
Just for reference, if you call your kid off, they do not count it as a excused absence
Oh,
because it happens.
Right.
So basically, get a call and lie, like, "Oh, my kid's sick."
I know, right?
Whether else taking the
Have you
test.
any comments about?
Nope.
Okay. Hopefully y'all can hear us.
Well, but that ties into a little bit about what we're talking today. We are talking about how even though maybe our spouses wear a badge and we support them, we're all still human. We all have faults. We have flaws. We have things we excel at. We are all human and we have feelings. And that's a little bit about what we want to talk about today. I think it resonates a lot with people and what they're going through. And supporting their spouses while they're on the job. So, do you have a list of flaws?
A list
Do you
of
have
my
flaws?
character
I mean,
defects.
Well, I made
This
a
is only
list.
one show, right?
I made a list for both of you.
Oh, is those your flaws?
What are our flaws that you want to discuss?
I knew you would say no. I don't have any flaws.
Of course we
so
do.
I made a list. No.
Yeah.
It's all in good fun. But no, I did seriously make a list of my flaws, and I'm going to have to condense those for the half hour that we have.
Right.
Right. Because it would take probably, my gosh, a couple shows.
Yeah.
Season 1, season 2.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, and we'll be total because we're being transparent today because
very much.
a show like this makes you very vulnerable, right? Or makes your vulnerability stand out, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't even have this topic until last night at 9:30.
We're giving away our secrets to our success.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we just had one of our guests that couldn't make it. So there is a lot right now happening, trending on police wives and support groups, and that we need some support in this. And so we decided, hey, it might be a kind of a good idea to kind of throw out some of our defects too and how that relates to being a police wife. So hopefully this resonates with some of you. Not even just a police wife, but a wife in general.
Yeah.
But anybody in the first responder kind of.
Yeah,
family
don't
that-
ever feel that you're alone.
Yeah.
Because every single one of us is going through what you have been through.
Yeah.
There's nothing unique.
And it's unfortunate, yes, there isn't necessarily like a support protocol, But
Right.
that's why us wives really tend to band together. And like I always talk about when I first met you, it was just like, okay, well, we're in this together.
Yeah,
There
I
was
think
no
that
background
was
or anything, too.
no. And the funny thing is, I think that it was just that immediate connection with all of us.
Yeah.
Knowing of what we have been through, and
Right.
it was kind of an unspoken bond.
Mhm.
The things that we've done.
Yeah. So if you are a police wife and you're struggling, find other police wives. There's a ton of resources. Even if you're not in the state of Ohio, there are a ton of different resources available for you. We're all in this together. So
Yeah.
Well, on that thread, they talked about having a manual.
yeah.
So if you could give advice to a police officer out there, only one advice, what would that advice be? A police officer's spouse, what would it be?
What would my advice to that police
only one
officer's-
advice. Only one.
Oh,
One phrase?
One phrase, I should say, not advice. Yeah, one phrase.
I think for me, it would be don't take it personally.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good one.
Don't take it personally. If your spouse comes home and they've had a really bad day or they have seen something, it is in your best interest to give them space. They may not want to talk about it, but they'll talk to you about it when they're ready. And if they need somebody else to talk to about that, there's resources for that. They do exist. If you're looking for a reference, call us, email us. We give you our email every single day. You know, our Facebook page too. Let's go back to, can either one of you say, why did we start this podcast? Do you remember the conversation that we had when we decided to start this?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously wanted to reach out to other wives because we had so much in common. It instantly connected, and we understood each other that a lot of our other friends could never understand.
Right. And part of our purpose to starting this was to reach other wives that may, or spouses, may not have immediate access to any of those references, may not have access to get out and about to find groups or support. And we just wanted to be anytime, any place, plug us in, and we're here to support you.
Yeah, and if we knew if we could stay at the, where did we used to go for lunch?
Us?
Yeah.
Us? Whole Foods?
Whole Foods. If we could go to Whole Foods for 4 hours
Oh.
every week and continue different topics, we just knew that.
Yeah.
When my husband says, "Oh, you're going where?" He knows I'm gone for the whole day because I'm meeting these two, and we're at Whole Foods where there's a buffet. There's everything you can think of, unlimited food, drinks, desserts, and we could stay all day and just chit chat about everything
Topics,
that's going on.
Just being a Leo wife, that's all we would talk about.
Yeah.
So that's why we say a lot too, like giving back to our first responder family. So this is one way for us to give back to our community too, is just being available. And like we know a lot of different police wives too. So whatever kind of place that you're in, there's probably some that we can connect you with as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And we're not looking to be all to end all
Right.
whatsoever.
Can't.
But between all of us in the different areas that we work in the different departments, we have a lot of resources. Feel free to hit us up
Yeah.
for whatever you're thinking about. And if we can't find it, we'll find a way to find it.
that's right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your flaws, Amy.
Yeah.
So here's one flaw that I really am so guilty of, and I feel so bad about it, and I'm trying really hard to make a difference. But I think a lot of people can relate to this. I have 2 children, my husband who works different hours, and I work. So I find that I spend too much time with my phone as my companion. I have trouble being present when my family is home. And that's been a sore subject with my family a lot. I think they feel like I put my clients first. I hope my clients feel that way.
So when you're talking about your
But-
phone, it's not like Facebook or Twitter, it's your clients.
No, it's everything. Because when I hear that little ding, I think, oh, maybe somebody needs me. Maybe something's going on.
Let's see your
And
phone, Amy, because
here's-
it can tell us, we'll break it down of how long you're on the phone and what app. And I'm just kidding.
That's true. And I feel like I'm very guilty, and a big flaw that I have is putting everyone else and not putting my phone and the things going on in the world ahead of what is right in front of me. You know, if I have someone who needs help with homework, oh, wait a minute, my phone's dinging. I better check that, make sure nobody needs me. When someone is right in front of me and needs me.
It's hard, though, because clients don't see that you have a life. Like, they're
Right.
your only priority.
Right.
So it's extremely, extremely hard.
And that's how our spouses have to feel who are wearing the badge. Just because they wear the badge doesn't mean that if there's an accident, you don't always have to stop, especially if first responders are always there. it's okay if you're a first responder and you don't stop on your personal time. That's just an example of how I think we all struggle personal versus our professional life. Some people would stop no matter what, and some people are like, okay, I'm with my family, we're going this place, they're taken care of, and that's okay. And that's okay. So, you know, when you have a spouse like ours that work, you know, what if you're 24 on, 48 off? You don't see your spouse for 24 hours. What if you are a third shift or a second shift? You may not see your spouse but an hour or two a day. So that's where I feel that my husband's occupation and my flaw create just the perfect explosion. So I am working on when my family is home, I am present with my family. And those phone calls are going to have to wait, as hard as that is for me to work on.
Maybe you can have like a cutoff time, like 7 p.m. and your phone's down.
I mean, it would be nice if you had a closing the next day and it wasn't done. You could do that. No, that can't happen.
Yeah.
You know, I guess you kind of have to pick and choose. And that's something that I am very consciously working on. And, but for my birthday this year, I got a pair of wireless earbuds, like Bluetooth earbuds, because the quote was, "You are on your phone all the time." So we thought this would be easier for you.
Oh, jeez.
And then I
Oh,
was
that
like,
that doesn't feel good, does it?
it kind of didn't.
Yeah.
At first I was like, yay, I've always wanted wireless earbuds. Because I have an old phone, so I still have the plug-in kind. I don't have AirPods or anything like that for my phone. But
But
that hit home.
at the end of the day, at least you're able to work at home and still do your job.
Yes.
So I guess you could be at an office.
Yes, it could be a lot worse. And I think that's why the things that we do in our profession, because we have to be
Available.
on call, I guess, for those emergency situations when you're the only one that can handle what's going on. You're the only one that can do that. That's why we have these schedules.
Sure. Well, don't beat yourself up too bad because you probably helped pay for those beats in your ear.
Well, I would like to take credit for that, but no.
It is interesting though, and just listening to you speak, you know, and we all kind of put ourselves in that particular situation too. But it's one of the most inspiring conversations that I've ever had in my life was with my husband, and I'm not just saying that to be nice, but it really was. When I struggle with the whole like not being good enough thing, I think that's probably one of my biggest character defects. When I'm venting those frustrations or situations, and he says to me, when I'm on my deathbed, and I don't know if I've told you guys this before, when I'm on my deathbed, I am not going to look back and say, was I everything that I wanted to be in my career? I'm going to look back and say, was I a good husband and was I a good father? And that's what matters the most to me. He said that I measure my success based on the eyes of my family. And I was like, what? I was like,
That really put it into perspective.
yeah,
for you.
it really, really did. Because so now in all of the things that I feel guilty about, that comes to mind. Okay, you know, what's the priority here? What are we now? Now I'm very, very lucky that I have a spouse that thinks that way in the terms of what success means and
Right. And a lot of
having
people
that
don't.
rearranged and prioritized in my life. But food for thought, if you think about it in those terms, and if you share that experience with your spouse, that might kind of, you know, shake some things up. Okay, well, let's talk about that. Let's reprioritize things. You know, what is the most important thing to us right now and right here? Not to say that I'm not guilty of not being present, because that's something I struggle with every day. I think that's a human struggle.
Yeah.
Being present. You know, if we look at our children, they're present all the time. We know that they have anxiety when we drop them off or when they go to certain things, but right here and now they're fine. So I look at that, and that's very inspiring. But when you lose your innocence, I mean, there's a whole lot of guilt, and there's a whole lot of looking 2 days into the future. So what can we do, you know, and how can we tie that into our lifestyle, especially in law enforcement too, and what kind of things could, you know, what kind of tools could we pull out of our toolbox?
Right. Right.
So,
well, you know, for me, I always go back to faith. I guess I measure my success in not what anybody thinks about me or what I achieve here on earth, but the things that I do that are hidden, that are secret, and that God really knows my heart. And that's how I measure my success. And I have to remind myself of that every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It may not be what comes out of my mouth or how it comes out of my mouth, because I am human and I make mistakes. It may not be what I forgot to do or recognize, but my success I measure through, I know that God knows my heart. And even though I may have forgotten something, I'll make it up. And God knows it was an accident. You know, that's how I measure my success. I look at it that way too. And I know that just like your husband, when I'm sitting on my deathbed, it's not going to be,
Did I get that email done?
did I close enough loans? Did I meet my goals? No.
And that's
it's
not to say that those aren't important, because they are. But when you're talking about the whole grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
being present is probably more important than
It is.
working from, 8 to 10 p.m.
Well, and I look at it this way too. The things that are the most rewarding, you have to work the hardest for.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it may take you a year, it may take you 5 years. The harder you work for that, the more rewarding it's going to be in whatever manner you're looking for.
And yes. And two, that's really hard. That's really, really hard.
Yes.
And so this would be a challenge that I would offer to anybody
Sure.
struggling with this, saying, like, my spouse won't do that, or da-da-da-da. Okay, stop. Just for 3 days, put your spouse or your family or your kids or whatever that means to you first.
3 days.
Regardless of how you feel about them right now and how angry or how annoyed or whatever, put their feelings first. Just see what happens. Just see what happens. Because there's a lot that happens between when you stop being selfish and you start being selfless,
Yeah.
regardless of how much they do not contribute or whatever. Just for 3 days, put them first and see what changes in your life, in your household.
That is really difficult.
Absolutely very difficult,
I
because
had somebody wise once tell me, and I have not been able to do it, that just for a week, say yes to everything. Within reason. But say, but it's like if your spouse wants you to go to the grocery store with them and you don't want to go, just say yes and do it anyway and see what your results are. That's hard. I don't know anybody who really could fulfill that.
I mean, I'm not saying like take abuse.
No.
I'm
Well,
just saying,
right.
like,
Let's clarify
I'm
that.
just saying, like, before you think about how something affects you, think about how it affects your spouse first, and just see how that changes your frame of mind.
As women, I think we inherently think of other people before ourselves.
Yeah, but we do it, but we don't want to, and that creates resentment.
Yes. Oh, yeah, sure.
So think of it in terms of, okay, how can I put my spouse first, or how can I put my my children first, or whatever that means for you. But okay, think about it in terms of if I'm in second place, or if I'm in the second row, how does that look for them? So what can I do to change that mindset?
Right.
Because it does change things up quite a bit.
That's a
Because
difficult one, but let's try it.
But you start to interpret things differently, and you start to think about the way that they're thinking.
Right.
And then it comes back tenfold too, because once they see you in that moment, in that arena, they will then say, okay, well, wow, that was really cool. I think I'm feeling a little bit differently. Maybe I'll do the same thing too.
That's the surprising results that I think none of us expect.
Right. Yeah. So for 3 days, just try it out. See what happens. Let us know.
We will maybe report back to you next week. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. That's what we'll do this week.
Yeah, I'm just letting y'all know I'm not trying it.
I was waiting for her to speak up.
I know, right? That's why I was kind of looking at her the whole time.
Yeah. No. I mean, sometimes something's just not realistic. I mean, it's hard for 3 days.
Expand.
I'm just saying always say yes. That's just,
Well, I'm not saying always say yes. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying think of their feelings before yours.
like, give me an example. Like, what are you saying that everybody should say yes at for 3 days?
Well, like the example that I just gave, if your husband wants you to go to the grocery store with them and you just don't want to go, you don't have time, they're capable of doing it on their own. Something simple like that. If they say, hey, why don't you take a ride with me? Why don't you run with me
Or
to
why
get
don't
gas?
you go to go get those things?
Yeah.
And you're
you
like,
don't want to
I've
do
done
it.
it 3 times today. But, maybe in the back of their head, it's like, I slept for 3 hours last night, or I don't feel good right now,
Yeah.
or
There's always
I had a really bad day.
another
or-
side that
yeah.
we don't always see. But just say yes when he wants you to take that
Well, no, I
ride
mean,
to the gas station, and
That
you
I
don't
can
have
see.
time.
That I can see. But I'm saying, like, even like you said about trash, taking it out. This is the third time. I'd be like, that's why you're spoiled. Take it out. I couldn't say yes to that after if I'm doing it for 3 times.
But that's different. That's a chore around your house. That's not your spouse asking you to
Maybe I wasn't
take
paying
time
attention.
for
What did you
him.
say, Jamie, about the trash? Did you say that about the trash?
Did I say anything about
that
trash?
you've gone that 3
Oh,
times a day
oh.
you've gone to the store.
Yeah,
The store.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You got trash on the
I
brain.
know.
girl.
She's clearly is overworked at home and needs
No,
help.
I was like off in a la la land. Okay, so the store. Yeah, I'd be like, no, I've gone 3 times. It's your turn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
this
maybe
is why
he
men are
wants-
spoiled.
Maybe he wants you to go for another reason. Maybe he just wants to hold your hand.
No,
down the
she's saying
aisle.
by yourself. You're saying I get your point.
Yeah,
but she's
I'm
saying
saying
by
with.
yourself, right?
Well, no, I'm just saying, for example, like if he was like, "Hey, do you mind to go to the store to get cat litter?"
yeah, I'd be like, matter of fact, I do. This is my 3rd time. You can go get it. I'm tired too.
But if he was going with you, would
I mean,
you
it would be
like,
different.
"Oh,
I
okay,
mean,
sure.
yeah, it'd
And
be
maybe we could stop at Starbucks on the way.
Yeah, I say, okay, why don't we go together and we'll
That I can deal with.
get a treat.
But
Yeah.
doing 3 times in a row, like, this is why you're spoiled, honey. I'm gonna say no. So your 3 days saying yes wouldn't work for me.
Yeah, I'm so guilty of the saying no a lot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it depends. I'm gonna stick up real for myself. Like, I've actually gone 5 times in a row. It's your turn.
Do you have any flaws that you want to
Oh my
share
gosh, of
with
course, a
anybody?
whole bunch.
But do you want to
Stubborn.
share? Yeah.
I'm very stubborn.
Okay.
I mean, could you notice?
Yes, I'm gonna take a drink.
We're just gonna let her talk for a while. and-
No, I'm
Sip
very
it.
stubborn. Yeah, of course.
So how does that translate
How does
into
that-
your world?
Yeah.
So Jim's stubborn too.
Right.
So I mean, we butt heads, but we work through it.
Yeah.
So it works out.
do you ever think 2 wrongs don't make a right? I know
Oh
that
my
sounds
gosh,
really
of
cliche.
course,
but
of course. But I mean, I am human at the end of the day, and sometimes
right.
you just get aggravated, so you don't think to say yes or just do it and suck it up.
Yeah.
Your emotions get the best of you.
And when you're in the middle of the headbutting, that's when it's the
get
hardest
deep,
to
girl.
say, I'm sorry, or I was wrong, or let me do this for you out of the goodness of my heart. It's hard. That's my point that I'm saying is when it's the hardest to do, it has the greatest reward.
Sure.
So how does that work? Because I mean, I'm sure a lot of other spouses out there are gonna be like, oh, my guy or my gal is super stubborn too, because this is the life that we're in.
Sure.
And so I think that too, like, what's the expression? This is for lack of a better one, but like misery loves company too. So like, if they're stubborn, like you're gonna be stubborn too, and then it's
well, no,
Well,
somebody
two-
gives in.
2 can play that game.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously somebody gets in. I'm just saying, to say yes for 3 days is not going to happen in my world.
Okay, try it
Well,
for
like
one
if you
day.
if you both kind of had that conversation together, like, hey, let's try this out and just see what happens for us.
I could do that.
I mean,
for
like,
sure.
I'm saying, like, if you're in the middle of a bad time, like, you're not necessarily in the middle of a,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, but if you're just like and you can't figure it out, just say, okay, let's pause for the next 3 days. Let's just put each other first and see what happens.
Yeah.
You can kind of break that down and outline that however you want to and structure it, you know, if
And,
your own
well, here's the
rules,
reason
but-
why I wouldn't say yes, because I would say, babe, listen, I've already gone for 3 times in a row. It's your turn. Like if I go, it's going to take me off. I'm going to hold
Resentment.
resentment. Yeah.
Right.
So I just think it's best to be honest instead of just being a yes woman, yes sir, and just doing it. I just
I
think being
guess
honest.
that's where your conversation becomes very important because then the spouse has to realize, maybe I need to say yes this time.
Right. So if I did
Yeah.
say yes and do it, I would just be pissed. So
right?
you might as well just tell him like, hey, like I'm tired. I've already gone X amount of times. Do you think you can go?
Well, yeah. I mean, it would have to. I mean, I guess it wouldn't have to work both ways, but it would be better if it worked both ways. If he was like, "Oh, okay, like I see you," and you're like, "Okay, well, I see you for these next 3 days. We're gonna see each other. We're gonna be
Yeah.
totally transparent."
I'm just saying it works better communicating, and that's something that I had to take years to find out. Just tell him how I feel.
Yeah.
Instead of saying yes and doing it and then being pissed.
Yeah.
Coming
Yeah.
home pissed, like when he has no idea why I'm mad.
Yeah.
Aren't you mad that things like that take us so
I mean, no,
many years,
years,
to
right?
learn? Yeah,
Wisdom.
I'm telling
older
you.
you
I
get.
mean, in the mid 40s, I'm just learning things. I was like, why didn't I know this before? Why didn't I do this before? I've spent half of my life being resentful, and you get angry about.
Because we're females, we think men should read our minds. They should know what we
That's
want.
a good point. That's a
And
good
they
point.
don't. They're clueless. They're like babies. They're like kids. You got to tell them. You got to walk step by step.
That's a good conversation starter.
What?
I cannot read your mind.
Oh yeah, I see that. I see that.
I've said that a few times.
Like, what do you mean you can't read my mind? You see me over here crying, right? It means I'm upset. Come hug me.
Touch me.
Right. But they don't get it. Their men are just, they don't get it. They just walk away. Okay, I'll give you your space. And then you get pissed even more because they didn't come over and hug you.
It's like a vicious circle.
Right. So we just need to learn to voice, honey, I'd really love for you to come over and embrace me and give me a hug.
Right.
And I think a lot of people have problems with that.
Yeah, and it's females. Like, I
Yeah,
really believe
yeah.
it's females.
But do you think part of that comes from confidence, from having self-confidence, being confident in your own skin and being okay with the feelings that you're having, but also being confident in your marriage or your with your significant other, and being able to have confidence in having that conversation with them?
I don't know. I just think that's how women are wired.
I don't know if it's a confidence
Yeah, I don't think.
issue.
I think it's being. I feel like it's having enough confidence and self-respect to be able to speak up and to have an adult conversation.
I mean,
And being comfortable to voice your opinions. I think a lot of it is confidence because, if you look at people who really lack self-esteem, they just kind of seem like they're always behind the scenes. They don't ever speak
know.
up for
I
themselves.
don't know if it's confidence.
Yeah.
It's definitely trust. You have to trust that you're in a safe place with your spouse. Like if your spouse doesn't offer you a safe place to relay that information or to let them know what you want, you're not going to.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's trust. Okay, let's pretend that we're washing dishes at the table or at the kitchen sink, right? Your spouse is in there watching football, right? Instead of us as a female saying, hey, honey, do you think if you come in here and help me, I can get done a lot quicker and I could perhaps even watch the football game with you? We don't say that. Instead, we wash the dishes,
We slam 'em.
hoping that they come in and offer when they're just clueless that that's really what we want. And so instead of them coming and offering, now we're really ticked off at them, and they have no clue. They're just watching football. They have no clue why we're even ticked.
No clue. You're so right on that.
So-
That's exactly right. I do want to point out that we are not marriage counselors in any way. We are just spouses with many, many years of experience, just sharing with what we see and maybe how we can improve upon ourselves.
Yeah.
But that is such a good point because I think so many of us just expect them to read our minds.
And they're clueless.
Sorry.
I
That
I'm
comes
very
down to
fortunate.
communication.
Yeah, because my husband reads me like a book. Like he knows me better than I know myself sometimes. So I'm very lucky in that. Like if I want cuddles and I'm like, he'll be like, why don't you come over here and cuddle with me? He's just very good at reading. Or if I was like, he'd be like, okay, let me help you with the dishes. So
He gets that now when I slam
Yeah.
a dish, but I'm saying I could have voiced it years ago and saved all that
Sure.
nonsense
Sure.
of being ticked for dishes.
Absolutely. And I mean, you guys know, and I don't know if a lot of people know, but I was in I was in another marriage that was not well and healthy before. So when you see how a healthy relationship is, I mean, you value that a whole lot more. So it was easier for me to see those things and communicate those things with somebody who I actually had a safe place in doing those things with too.
And that probably started right off the bat with you.
It did.
The next time you had any interest in a relationship with someone, you probably laid it all out because of your past experience.
Right. And two, I was very lucky that, I mean, I say all the time, I feel like I'm gloating, but that he's the best human I've ever known. So I'm going to cry.
We've had enough of that today. Enough.
but I was very lucky in that respect. So not to say that we don't have communication breakdowns, but for me, it was being super in love with somebody and being vulnerable with them and letting them see all of my pieces that I don't let a lot of people see. So
And not a lot of people get that.
So yeah, right.
You allowed him to tear the layers.
Yeah. So that's when I say, like, it's not necessarily a confidence thing, more or less a trust thing, because I trust him. I mean, entirely.
And that may look different for different marriages.
Sure.
Again, we're not pretending to know anything about your marriages out there. We're just speaking from our own experience.
Yeah, I'm just speaking from females. I just think we're just
Yeah.
wired differently. Or like we could be upset about something where our husbands would not be upset about the same issue, so they have no clue that it even upsetted us.
That's very true.
because that's not something that would bother them.
Right.
So
Sure.
if you would just be, honest, hey, honey, like the other day at such and such or whatever happened, that really hurt my feelings, instead of just putting
Yeah.
it in the fanny pack.
The proverbial fanny pack.
Well, and so because we are more emotional beings too, that's why I'm constantly like, okay, how important is this? How important is this right now with what I'm feeling? Like, is this something that is even worth mentioning? And sometimes I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I'm like, Jamie, you're having a bad day. You're tired. Like, it's not.
Do you guys feel like the older you get, your needs change?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I feel like mine do, for sure.
And I feel like the older I get, I just do not sweat the silly things. And there's still people around me that get really intense about things. I'm like, life goes on. Things are going to happen. You just can't sweat things that are really not life altering at that moment.
Yeah.
And of course, every moment deserves its own consideration.
Sure.
But I don't sweat the small stuff like I used to.
Yeah, and that's all relative.
Yeah.
Yeah, small stuff to you might be big stuff to somebody else, and that's
Right,
relative. But
right. Which used to be big stuff to me too.
Right.
And now it's not.
Right.
But that just circles all back around to what we're talking about today, and that we're all human. And despite that we either wear a badge or support somebody who does wear a badge, we're human. We have our flaws. You are not alone.
You're not perfect.
Yeah.
Give yourself some
Communication.
grace.
Oh, something else I used to struggle with as a flaw, and I'm working on it, is my delivery.
Yeah.
Amen to
yeah.
that, girl.
Delivery.
Yeah, my delivery is not always the best. And I know it after the fact, but I guess emotions sometimes take the best.
Yeah. Or reaction.
I think
too.
we all have
Delivery
those
and reaction.
moments.
Yeah.
But we learn and we grow and we build from those and we move on.
Yeah. So if you have to apologize,
Yes.
make sure you do it wholeheartedly and
Yeah.
don't do it again.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
even delivering the message about having your spouse go to the store instead of saying, this is my fourth time, and don't you think you should be doing
Yeah.
something? Like, hey, honey, I'm really tired about your delivery.
Yeah.
Could you
But
think you could
I
go this
think
time?
I think one of the big keys, I know we just keep going on, I'm sorry. One of the big keys to that, when you do or say something or react in a way that might be hurtful to others, forgiveness is the key to that. If you can forgive yourself, and if you've harmed or hurt someone in the meantime, if they can forgive you too, that is the key to the healing, the learning, and the moving on. Forgiveness is huge.
Forgiveness is letting go of hope for a better past.
Yes.
And on that note,
and don't forget communication. If they want to give us ideas, you guys should give us ideas to talk about, some topics.
we are here for you. I don't know. I hope we're getting out to the right people and the right people are finding us. Please share us. Even if you're not interested in the topics that we're talking about, please like and share our podcast, because you may just reach that one person who needs to know that they have a support system, who might feel like they're failing in some area, and they're not alone. So please share our podcast. We would greatly appreciate that, and hopefully we can reach others who might need
Yeah.
just to know somebody is in their shoes and has their back.
That's right.
But if you want to send us any comments or questions or topics that you'd like for us to talk about, you can email us at bluelinegroupofohio@gmail.com. Our Facebook page is Blueline Real Estate Services Central Ohio. So please reach out to us.
Woo woo. Do you want to say let's let the guest pick our topic for next week?
Yeah, we could do that.
No, not the guest. I'm saying our viewers.
Oh.
Send
I
us
just said
in.
viewers.
Send us in your related support, first responder topics, and we will pick what you ask us
Yeah.
to talk
We'll
about.
crack it down too.
Yeah.
We need to know by Tuesday though. We can't do
We
9:30
figured this
on
out last
Wednesday
night.
night.
Yeah, I'm gonna say if you could push it, maybe Wednesday. We can make it work.
Yeah. 9:30 is the
Wednesday at
cutoff
noon.
time.
Yeah, we just can't do past 9:30. I turn into a pumpkin.
Oh my gosh. We are live from LEPD Firearm and Range on Belleville Road, right here in Columbus, Ohio. Thank you for tuning in. We are your Blue Line group with your Blue Line Wives Roll Call podcast.
Stay safe, everybody.